Smackdown for 12/15/23 just went off the airwaves from Green Bay, Wisconsin. What a wild finish. A huge return at the end of this show and confusion to another level. I always say under Paul Levesque McMahon, these shows are usually confusing, right? You got the heels versus heels, face versus face. You never know who is actually getting a push, who's about to get a one-way ticket to catering. But when the show ends with Corey Graves saying, and I quote, "Just like every one of you at home, I'm just as confused as you," and the show goes off the air. That tells you everything you need to know. Doesn't necessarily mean this was bad, especially with the return and especially with the big Royal Rumble match. This is more than seeds planted on tonight's show. This is happening. Roman, Randy Orton. So there's a lot to discuss. Dakota Kai and her BUNZ-ai. If you saw the show tonight, you know what I'm talking about. One of the things we're going to remember from this show. All my dudes out there, you know what I'm talking about. Dakota Kai, BUNZ-ai. That's all I'm going to say. When we get to that segment, we'll talk about it. But yeah, some wild things going on this show. Karrion Kross, we have to talk about that. Karrion Kross, the way he's been booked recently, or when he is out of catering. They have him lose last week in this, was it the tournament or to go into the turn, something like that. Karrion Kross loses this weird match. I think it was a tournament match. Was that Bobby Lashley? Yeah, so that was going to bug me. I had to go back into the notes from last week, and sure enough, Bobby Lashley defeated Karrion Kross, and it says right in my notes, it was a quick match. Karrion was looking up at the lights, 1, 2, 3 to Bobby Lashley, and that was a shocker that he was even used last week. Usually he's just in catering. They have nothing for Karrion. They bring him in last week, quick loss to Bobby Lashley, and here we are 1 week later, and he's being repackaged out of thin air. Now, you guys know I'm really high on Karrion Kross, so beggars can't be choosers. At least, hopefully, we're getting the best of Karrion Kross still to come. It's just so oddly done. Then why bring him in last week? Have that loss fresh in most of our dome pieces, and then the very next week we're supposed to take him seriously. We just can do better. But we got to talk Karrion Kross. Because that's one of my boys over in WWE, and hopefully his best days are still to come in that company. So there's a lot to get to. I say we waste no time. It's pretty late as of the recording of SmackDown. Again, it just went off the airwaves. Like usually, as of late, I have a lot of traveling this weekend, so this is the only time I can pull this review. So I say we waste no more time. Right from the jump, Roman Reigns returns to WWE. Isn't it wild that we have to say that every 3 or 4 weeks with this guy, sometimes 2 months at a time? But every time the champion of the world, the Universal Champion, shows up, we have to call it a return. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Almighty One. And that's how WWE promotes it, right? All over their pages. The return of Roman Reigns this Friday night. Wild. But Roman Reigns did return. Tonight's show, Green Bay, Wisconsin. He says, acknowledge me. Green Bay, acknowledge me. He says it's the holidays. And he's a good boss. He's going to be a good tribal chief and give a promotion. Everybody thinks, or a lot of people... Okay, just Jimmy thinks it's going to be him. So Jimmy's priming himself right next to Roman. Roman is really talking up this promotion. Jimmy's like, yeah, this is my opportunity. This is my chance. This is my time. Jay's going to be jealous on Raw. And Roman says, Jimmy, join me in giving this promotion to your brother, Solo Sikoa. He gives a big hug to Solo. And Jimmy's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna be over here when you guys are done. I'll be right over here. So it was fun. I gotta admit, man, the Bloodline for 2023, and a lot of this was Sami Zayn around the Elimination Chamber February, but they've been the center of some of the funniest moments in 2023. So that's saying something. It's a very versatile group, right? Because they're supposed to be the most badass faction, the top heel group. But man, can they make you laugh. A lot of that, again, was Sami Zayn making the Usos crack up on live TV earlier in the year. But still, Jimmy and Jay, man, they're funny. They're better when they're together. It's my favorite tag team. You guys know that. But, yeah, that was a good laugh, man. Jimmy was really playing it up. Like, yeah, I'll be over here. So Solo is obviously the next in line after Roman Reigns. I don't know how that's going to sit with Jimmy Uso. Randy Orton comes out next. Well, his music hits. Takes a few steps out of the curtain. We go to commercial break. At that point, we were only about 8-9 minutes into the show. We go to commercial break. When we come back, Orton challenges Roman Reigns to a championship match at Royal Rumble. And Orton said, for the last 18 months, all I've been thinking about is getting that championship from you. Roman was hilarious. He's like, 18 months you've been thinking about me in this championship? He goes, in the last 18 months, I haven't been thinking about you at all. Randy Orton's like, shut up. So Roman Reigns says, that's the problem with everybody today. Is you all don't do anything and you all expect something, right? It's like a playoff of society. So I like that line. And he basically says, you've been gone for 18 months, you waltz back in here and you expect a title opportunity. That's not going to happen. So Randy Orton fakes an RKO, drops down, startles Roman. Roman takes several steps back. I even think he dropped on his knee. So Roman was kind of shook. He almost got hit with the RKO. So Randy's like, I don't know. He says some words and he just equates that he's going to get this championship match. He's going to start going through the bloodline, starting later in the night, the main event against Jimmy Uso. And Roman Reigns exits the ring or something. No physicality to start the show, nothing like that. It pretty much ends that way, where the bloodline retreats and Randy Orton could have RKO'd Roman, or at least was this close. So the segment itself was mid, but the magnitude of the situation, that was epic. Because Roman Reigns and Randy Orton is happening for Royal Rumble. It's not confirmed yet, but those were more than seeds planted on tonight's show. That was the start of it. Now later on, when we get to the main event segment, this was Jimmy Uso versus Randy Orton. I'm going to tell you guys about a lot more that happened, which was pretty much cementing this match for the Rumble. And it's the right call. If you guys have been following the channel, especially as of recently, I've been telling you guys there's no way Roman can miss Royal Rumble. There's not a way. The last time he had a title match was 40 some odd days ago. What was it, 41? 41 days ago. That was at Crown Jewel, Saturday afternoon, November 4th. That was it. So now you're talking about another month till we even get to Royal Rumble. You're going to be talking about 70-something days between defenses. Now, Jack Tunney, President Jack Tunney, used to strip champions after 30 days of no defenses. Now, I understand the bulk, the best of kayfabe is no longer with us, so you can go 30, 60 days without a title defense, but 70-something? At one point, somebody's got to step in realistically and take the title. So there's no way he can miss Rumble. At that point, it'll still be 70-something days between the defenses, but at least there'll be one upcoming, so that'll ease fans' tensions. Hopefully that makes sense. So Roman has to defend. The only person he could defend against is Randy Orton. He already took out LA Knight. Cody Rhodes, if they can't get The Rock, is going to be WrestleMania. And CM Punk is going to be occupied with Sethington Rollins' championship, we believe. So that leaves Randy Orton to be at the Royal Rumble. Unfortunately, he's got to do the deed for Roman. Roman's not going to lose that title at Royal Rumble, nor should he be. So you're going to have to be careful how you do this. You're going to have to save face big time for Randy Orton. There's a million ways they could go about business. They might take the easy way out, just have Solo deliver the solo spike, and Roman wins. They know that pisses everybody off, so they keep doing it. It happened to Drew McIntyre, a few others, and of course, Cody Rhodes at Mania 39, the same type of finish. They might do the same thing because they know it irks people. So anyway, again, segment was mid to start the show, but the magnitude of the situation epic. Orton, Roman, more than plan seeded. These weren't just the plan seeded, the seeds planted. I can speak. But this was actually the seeds were planted and the tree started growing all at once in this first segment. The Royal Rumble tree between Roman and Randy, it started growing immediately when the seeds were planted. All right, moving on, guys. So that's the first segment. We'll talk in just a few minutes about the main event segment, and things really did a 180 at that point because there was no physicality in the first segment. By the end of the night, there was a lot, including a returning superstar, a top-tier level superstar that just confused everybody when it was all said and done. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. First and foremost, the first matchup of the night was the U.S. title tournament match between Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes from NXT. So Logan Paul is on a pre-record lower left corner while Grayson Waller is coming down the aisle. So it's Grayson versus Melo, U.S. title tournament. Of course, your U.S. champion is Logan Paul, so they're having him say some words. And it's directed toward Melo, this pre-record. And Logan Paul says, and I quote, "Melo, you say you don't miss, but I've missed your entire career. So have your family DVR your SmackDown match, because that's the only way I'm ever going to watch one." And he says, "Good luck, random dude." End quote. Logan Paul, man, he's been on fire as of late. You guys remember what he said last week about Kevin Owens? We'll go over that in a minute. And then the next match was Kevin Owens' match with Austin Theory in the tournament. Wait till you hear what Logan Paul said to Kevin Owens. This dude's on fire. He's roasting. So anyway, he end quotes that, says, "Good luck, random dude." But Melo was not so random tonight. Melo defeats Grayson Waller via pinfall. And it was off the first 48 nothing but net combo finish. And it's one of the best combo 1-2 punches in pro wrestling, I truly feel. And I love that and I'm not a big Melo supporter. Hopefully that changes, right? If I see enough, he's pushed correctly, I see the personality and the charisma really go next level, I'll absolutely be on board. We know he's talented for sure. But man, when you debut on the main roster, or this is your first big match on a platform like SmackDown, how do they usually have these debuts, right? They usually win via fruit roll-up, right? Oh, they shocked the guy who's always here every Friday night, and he just got shocked, man. It was the fruit roll-up. It could have been anybody's match. It was a surprise roll-up, right? That's how they usually do it. And it's not memorable. Nobody's ever going to remember that match. Nobody's ever going to remember the finish. And you just told your audience that the dude that won via the roll-up is average. So the way that they had Melo win this match, even though it's just against Grayson Waller and him in theory are basically glorified jobbers these days, it's still big, man. It's a nice 1-2 punch combo finish. You have the first 48, the nothing but net. The commentators are really selling it. When you have a pro wrestler that is a winner and they have an established finisher that the audience knows, that goes so far, man. When they're wrestling with their buddies in the backyard or their pillows, they're delivering your finisher, right? I mean, that's what you did as kids, man. You always wanted to do the finisher, whether it was Hulk Hogan's leg drop or you're doing a Batista bomb, right? Safely, kids. Maybe you're doing a Stone Cold Stunner or an RKO. But it was always about the finishers. I don't know too many kids that are trying to fruit roll up one another. But that's where we're at today. But no, man, establish this guy. This is his first time in front of a large part of your audience. This is his first time in front of so many people last night on that stage. Sell it. What's his finisher? Why should we care? Is he a winner? Tell us that from the jump. So I like what they did there, man. No harm, no foul on Waller, because I don't know what they're doing with Waller in theory. They just seem to be glorified jobbers. That's it. And I mean, for theory, I'm more than okay with that. If anybody needs to be truly repackaged, not what Levesque McMahon did to him, which is put down the cell phone And it's the same Austin Theory. Nobody cares about him. No, a true repackage. There has to be personality and charisma in there. There has to be. And so far, it's untapped. Next up, speaking of Austin Theory versus Kevin Owens, this is again a United States Tournament first round. Logan Paul video once again airs in the lower left corner. This time, last time it was Melo he had his words for. This time, his words once again are for Kevin Owens. Now, you guys remember last week, it was hilarious. Logan Paul says, Kevin Owens reminds him as a slightly smaller Otis. And then they were talking about how Kevin Owens is an inspiration because he's wrestling with a hurt hand. And Logan Paul says, the only thing Kevin Owens inspires me to do is go to McDonald's. Dude, he was straight roasting. Well, tonight was no different, man. Logan Paul video package airs. Logan says, and I quote, Kevin, you dress like a fifth grader who takes PE dodgeball way too seriously. He said, get a needle, get some thread, and sew those sleeves back on. You look ridiculous. He says you're embarrassing yourself, bro. End quote. He said you dress like a fifth grader who takes PE dodgeball too seriously. Grab a needle, grab a needle. He says grab some thread, sew those sleeves back on. You're embarrassing yourself, bro. I'm like, he is straight roasting Kevin Owens, bro. Like, it's all in good fun, but at some point, Owens is going to be like, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing, bro? Calling me fat? I'm going to McDonald's. I'm barely smaller than Otis. I'm a fucking fifth grader playing dodgeball. That's my getup in the ring. What are you doing? It's great, bro. It's great. Owens ends up defeating Waller via pinfall with an assist from the cast on his broken hand. And Owens advances to round 2. So it's going to be Owens versus Melo. But so far, I'm not a big fan of tournaments. I always say this. It's just one dude 4 weeks earlier who has a Post-it pad and a Sharpie pen. And in about 5 minutes, they just write a bunch of names. And they go, you're going to win, and you're going to win, and you'll be in round 2. And then you're going to win. Okay, and we have the semifinal. And they just do a whole 4 weeks of television. That's not creativity. And guys, this isn't even for the title or anything. This is a tournament to determine the number 1 contender. What are we doing, man? Are you kidding me? In a company that all the time just throws a bunch of people in title matches and fatal 4-ways every week. But all of a sudden now we have to have a multi-week tournament? And then when this is all said and done, in just a few weeks, watch, you'll get a triple threat or a fatal 4 for the title, right? On a random SmackDown or Raw or something. No, SmackDown. U.S. Championship. But it just doesn't make sense. And that's what I ask for. Make it make sense, right? Like, what are we doing? I always say that. What are we doing, right? If you ask that question and you don't have a good answer, you're probably doing everything wrong. So I'm not a fan of tournaments anyway. I'm definitely not a fan of this tournament. But Logan Paul, even though he's not wrestling in the tournament, Logan Paul is easily the star of this entire tournament. We then acknowledge the Green Bay Packers. Go, Pack, go. They're, of course, in Green Bay. You got a nice little video package. Some good highlights. I shouldn't say good highlights. The Packers season this season has been very bad. Michael Cole actually said that they're in the playoff hunt in the NFC. And I'm like, dude, yeah, we have the 7th spot, but that's because there's a lot of other horrible teams this year. I don't know what's happening in the NFL, but if you watch the Packers this year, we are not good. We have no business being in the playoff hunt. We'll take it, no question, but let's pipe it down, right? Some of the Green Bay Packers were actually front row. It was so good to see them. They got the championship, the Green Bay championship. They were holding that up high. I wish they were a little bit less at pro wrestling and maybe going over their playbooks and going over some film for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Sunday. That would make me feel a little bit better. That game is in less than 2 days. But they're going to go and have a good night at wrestling. All right. But it was good, man. BC always acknowledges his Green Bay Packers. It was cool for the wrestling world to, for the Packers to have the spotlight on them for the wrestling world. We always do on this channel. So it was a pretty cool moment. Video package then plays for Karrion Kross. I'm like, what are we doing? That's when the Italian really comes out. What are we doing? A video package for Karrion Kross. This usually signifies a repackage, rebranding, rebuilding, a push, right? That's what these packages usually do. Fortunately, they don't really do anything with Paul Levesque McMahon, though, right? I mean, we've seen packages for like Munchkin, Mia Yim, formerly known as, Candice LeRae has had a video package, Indy Hartwell, Bronson Reed, and they're usually just 50-50 booked jobbers afterwards, right? All of them, actually. In some cases, even worse. So I can't even say that this will lead to exactly a big push. I'm hoping because, yes, little bias here because I'm a huge backer of Karrion Kross. I just think the dude has so much potential. He doesn't have to hang with Mello or Dragon Lee for 35 minutes in a banger or a clanger or a 5-star Melty classic to be deemed a good pro wrestler. He just has to captivate. And I don't care how many bells and whistles the dude has, especially with the manager he has, which perfectly fits with him, Scarlett Bordeaux. The package is right there. You just got to care about it. Karrion Kross could be and should be something special in that company. I hope that's the start of it, what we saw tonight. But everything I've seen with these video packages, they don't really lead to much. But the bigger issue I have is, why would you have this dude just come out of catering, right? It's like he was in hiding for months. You bring him out of catering last week to lose quickly to Bob Lashley. And then 7 days later, he's supposed to look all badass in this video package. Soon you'll all find out that I am the dastardly heel you thought I was. I don't even know what he was. It didn't even matter. And you guys know I'm a huge Karrion Kross backer. I would like this video package if it was maybe months ago. But to leave this guy in catering because you literally had nothing. This wasn't even a case of like, we're just waiting. Don't worry, we got something big planned for Karrion. No, Karrion himself and Scarlett were like, we don't know what's going on. They just don't have anything for us. So then they bring him back last week because they needed Bobby to beat somebody. They just said, hey, get Karrion because we already got Cameron Grimes losing to everybody on the roster. He's not going to the moon. He's going to catering. Poor Cameron Grimes, another person I'm really a supporter of. Unfortunately, there's not much to support. You know, how many triple-layered moose cakes can he eat at catering in a row? I don't know. Maybe if they film it, maybe I'll care about it. But Karrion Kross loses last week to Bob Lashley, and then 1 week later, it's like we're supposed to forget that? I mean, that's still fresh. I remembered it in the cold open. I had to check the notes just to make sure because it's so ass backwards. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that wasn't last week with Bobby Lashley, but I distinctively remembered it. I mean, I had to double check myself because it's confusing booking, but that's what Levesque McMahon does. He'll do something like that. Well, you'll just lose. You'll come out of the woodwork, out of the blue. You'll show back up. You'll lose this big match. And then all of a sudden, then your repackaging will start. Why not keep him off of TV last week? Don't lose against Bob Lashley. And then when his video package airs, it's more special. Oh, that's Kross. We haven't seen him in a while. This dude's a beast. But it's hard to take him seriously when he just got beat so simplistically by Bob Lashley last week. And now just because you hired a good photographer or videographer who could do some eerie things on the screen, now all of a sudden we're supposed to take him seriously. It doesn't work that way. And as a Karrion Kross supporter, I can tell you that. It's ass backwards. This is what has to stop. Stop bringing them out there to lose a bunch of matches and then go, now we're going to give you a push. There's no need to do it. They did it with LA Knight for the longest time. And that's half because they just didn't want to push LA Knight. I get it. The age thing, they hate anybody that's over the age of 40 years old. They just didn't like the fact that LA Knight doesn't do things the WWE way. And this is Levesque McMahon as well, guys. Trust me on that. And they just didn't want to push this guy. And then when they would utilize him, he would just lose all the time. Weird matches like Battle Royals when he was clearly the most over guy. And then he would lose Fatal 4-Ways for like the United States title and not even come close to winning these matches. Then he would lose. He would get rolled up to Austin Theory, of all people. Matches like that, and you're like, why? What's the... It didn't do anything more for LA Knight, right? He's still getting cheered the same. They just tried to stifle it. Perhaps if his booking was way better months ago, LA Knight would be on a whole nother level. It's weird. We had to discuss for a few minutes the Karrion Kross thing, guys. And you guys knew I was going to. If you follow this channel, you know how high I am on Kross. So I know a lot of you guys are wondering my thoughts on the package. I like it. I just think it's, I know it's ass backwards. And I'm seeing it too often with Levesque McMahon. It's weird. There was no need for that match last week then. So if you're telling me that they didn't know they were going to do the repackaging of Kross, they brought him back, they had him lose against Lashley, and then they said, well, maybe we should do something with Kross. Then cool. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, you got to hold off a few more weeks now. Because when he shows back up as something different, we want to forget that he was that bum that lost to Bob. I hope that makes sense. I know BC's not the only one, man. We like some continuity in our pro wrestling. We want that in any show, right? If you watch Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, it wouldn't matter what your favorite show is. It could be a Grey's Anatomy, Chicago Fire, Law & Order SVU, Blue Bloods. It wouldn't matter. You still want continuity, right? You want the storylines to make sense as each episode goes along. You want the characters to be in sync with where they were last week, their trajectory going forward. You want it to make sense. Well, we're not asking too much to want that with our pro wrestling. So it'll be interesting. As a Kross supporter, I'm going to take a step back and see what they do with Kross. They better make it believable, and they better stop this Kross losing every single time he's out there BS, because Karrion Kross is no loser. Moving on, Asuka and Kairi Sane once again going by the Kabuki Warriors. They're taking on Zelina, Vega, and Munchkin. Vega and Munchkin attacked the Warriors pre-match, but to no avail. It doesn't do anything because the equalizer was Dakota Kai's BUNZ. So you had Munchkin and Zelina attacking the Kabuki Warriors pre-match, but Zelina and Munchkin were no match for Dakota's BUNZ. That's right. I call it BUNZ-ai. You like that? BUNZ-ai. Get it? You got the Japanese faction, and Dakota Kai is delivering the BUNZ-ai. Now, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. So Munchkin's about to go up to the top rope. I think she was about to hit Asuka with her finisher, call it a night. But when Munchkin's up there, there's a distraction by Kai. Kai gets up on the apron, and Kai is wearing some very short jean shorts. Very short, like the ass is just hanging out, those type of shorts. And, I mean, that was one of the best distractions you probably ever could have seen. It was absolutely epic. I was hoping that she was going to stay on the apron a long time, and the referee was just going to be like, what are you doing here? Right? Light up a cigarette or something. Tell me more. What are you doing up here? Start eating a fucking bowl of Cheerios or something. I don't know. Take some time. Let Dakota tell you what she's doing up in the apron. Because those BUNZ-ais were hanging out, man. Great camera angle. Loved it. And, you know, Munchkin was distracted. Lorray, was it Lorray? Is that what I said? See, I'm distracted. Oh, Vega, Zelina Vega. Vega was distracted. Munchkin was distracted. Referee was distracted. Everybody in attendance was distracted. The Green Bay Packers were distracted. They were front row seeing the BUNZ-ais of Dakota Kai. BC was distracted. Most of you were distracted. Hey, I can't even blame Zelina Vega and Munchkin. All right. The world was distracted when Dakota Kai got on that apron. So this is one of those no harm, no foul losses for Vega and Munchkin. So after that distraction, Kairi hits the insane elbow, which the Macho Man Randy Savage, I say this all the time, would be so proud of. It is the best flying elbow in the business. In the business, I said. And that goes to a female. That goes to Kairi Sane. Man, does she get height. her form, her delivery, right into the pin, the way she does. Everything is flawless. Flawless. She performs that insane elbow flawlessly. And the only person I've ever seen deliver an elbow like that has been Macho Man Randy Savage. And he just happened to have made that his move. But the grace in midair, it's like they're floating like Michael Jordan dunking a basketball. It's a thing of beauty personified to an amplified measurement. Insane elbow. That was on Munchkin, by the way. 1, 2, 3, Munchkin looking up at the lights. But that's fine. She was in La La Land, but she was probably dreaming of Dakota's BUNZ-ai's. Man, what a thing of beauty. I tell you, one of the most underrated BUNZ-ai's in the business, Dakota Kai. All right, all kidding aside, I'm serious, but let's get back on track. Main event was Randy Orton versus Jimmy Uso. Now, Randy defeats Jimmy via pinfall. This was off of an RKO. This was a pretty quick match for a main event. It started around 9:42 maybe, Eastern time, and it ended about 9:51 with 7 minutes still left in the show. So you knew something else was going to happen, but you expected that match to go a little bit longer. They are trying to protect Randy Orton. Of course, the back injury. He's wrestling a lot, just coming back. They're trying to protect him. Tag team match with LA Knight last week. Yes. Right? That was last week. LA Knight, Randy Orton tag team match last week. Orton's match on Raw 2 weeks ago, I think it was. That was brilliantly done. The match started 2 minutes into the match. They went to a commercial picture-in-picture, and they just had his opponent. I forgot who it was, man. It's in my notes, actually, but it's not worth going back. His opponent, maybe it was Dominic Mysterio, actually. And he got on the microphone during the picture-in-picture, and he just started taunting the crowd. What that did was it bought time for Orton. He doesn't have to wrestle through the commercial break, protect his back. Again, Friday night last week, he was with LA Knight. This week, it was a quick 7-minute match. Orton not taking too many bumps at all. They're really protecting Orton. Good to see. And they're doing it smoke and mirror-wise. A lot of the average fan is not going to notice any of this unless they're listening to a review like this. And, of course, BC just happens to be really good at what he does. So I see all of this in real time, and I deliver that review to you guys. But the average fan isn't noticing any of this. It's being very well done, and he's being protected. So Orton defeats Jimmy Uso via pinfall RKO. LA Knight takes out Solo. Solo was originally about to distract Randy Orton, but LA Knight instantly came down, took out Solo. Roman Reigns said, well, we got the numbers advantage. So we brought out Solo. You checked us up with LA. Now you're volleying it back to us, and we have the final say. We got the numbers, so Roman comes out, takes out LA Knight. You got nobody left. There's nobody else to help Randy, right? LA Knight's now getting beat up. So now you have the heels taking over the faces. Jimmy, Solo, Roman putting the boots to LA Knight, Randy Orton. All of a sudden, AJ Styles' music hits. AJ Styles returns to WWE from injury. Been gone several months. He's been ready to go for the last several weeks, we're hearing reports say. They were just waiting for the right time. So AJ Styles, and he doesn't come through the entranceway, right? His music's playing. They're expecting it. He's up on the Tron. The video's playing, but he's actually about to deliver a phenomenal forearm. Springboard forearm, you know? So all I'm thinking is, oh, don't botch it. I was saying this out loud because I'm like, oh, that's ballsy. He hit it. Don't worry. He hit it. I think it was on, maybe Jimmy. Was it on Roman? I don't think it was on, I forgot who it was, but he hit somebody with the phenomenal forearm. I think it was Jimmy. Could have been Solo. But he hit it. But all I'm thinking, guys, is that is ballsy. This dude's first move back, his comeback, is going to begin with a springboard move. Do you know how easy? I know this guy's a consummate professional. He's done it a billion times in his career. He's great on the ropes. He's almost flawless, almost phenomenal on the springboards. I get it. Still, ring rust is there. I don't care how much you've been training at NXT or wherever, in your backyard or a ring in the garage. I don't care. This is in real time SmackDown, and you got to do a springboard the very first thing you do on your comeback. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of stress. All I'm thinking is don't botch it. Nobody's going to live that down. He nailed it, man. It wasn't his best one either. There was a moment, go back and watch, right? He was like almost like he was upright on the top rope. One little move backwards, he was going the other way. But he nails it. Now, that's not the story. That's not the story here. After the heels retreat, and the faces have not only evened the odds, but made the heels retreat, AJ Styles turns to LA Knight and knocks his block off. Snap of a finger, blink of an eye, drop of a hat. LA Knight is down looking up at the lights. AJ Styles turns on Knight. Orton with the perfect reaction. He just subtly looks at Styles, looks at Knight who's down, looks back at Styles and goes, not bad, kid. I don't care. I probably would have done the same. It was that type of look. He said 100 words without saying one at all. And Styles just kind of mean mugs Orton, but doesn't do anything to Orton. There's like a mutual respect there, but just don't cross my path. You'll get the same. And Styles then leaves the ring and walks right by the bloodline. Now, this didn't make any sense because you just took out the bloodline. And now you're just walking by them and they're letting you walk by? And then what's the use to help LA Knight and Orton if you're just going to drop LA Knight anyway? All these questions. Now, sometimes that's a good thing, right? We want questions. We want storylines. So we're hoping this leads to it. For now, it could be considered just confusing. It was funny because Corey Graves ends the show going, every one of you at home, you're not alone. I'm just as confused as you, he says. I thought that was hilarious. It's funny because if you follow the channel, I always say like Paul Levesque McMahon just confuses his audience. And unfortunately, that's why the numbers are really down. Like Raw's averaging 1.4s and stuff. It's because there's so much confusion and it's just not fun for a lot of fans. It's a lot of heel versus heel matches, face versus face matches. People are 50-50 booked now more than ever, and that's saying something because McMahon, Vincent Kennedy, used to 50-50 book the entire roster, it would seem. Now you're just seeing like weird things, like a video package will play for Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, and then all of a sudden they're losing every match after. It's like, then why you're introducing us who? Couple 2-3 losers? And we love those gals, especially Indy. You guys know how I feel about Indy. But if you're just going to book them like that, then what are you telling us? These are just some examples, guys. If you watch a full 3-hour Raw, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you get some glimmer of hope, like with Sethington and Punk this past Monday, which popped a 1.8 plus rating. 400,000 viewers tuned in to that segment, more than the show itself. So there's glimmers of hope. We hope that continues, but the rest of these shows, it's confusing his audience. And that's not good. I always taught you guys on this channel from day one. This is Psychology 101, and I'll say it again. For those that maybe never heard it, when you confuse an audience, when your audience is confused, they'll walk away. If they don't understand something to the point where they don't even care to find out, you've just lost your audience. So it's important that you don't confuse them. And I think that's what Levesque McMahon has to learn the most right now. Remember the simplistics of pro wrestling. You're just trying to create larger-than-life wrestlers, larger-than-life superstars, and put them in storylines that captivate us. And the culminating moments should be at the pay-per-views where we want to fork over our money. Or premium live event, fork over our money for the streaming service. But we gotta see the culminating moments. It's a simplistic philosophy, right? It's what pro wrestling is built upon. Don't get too cute. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to overthink it. Or just try to be the smarter one in the room. Relax. Just put the good guys against the bad guys. Put a lot of creativity behind it. Let's have some fun. There's no need to do everything opposite just to confuse your audience, screw with them, push some buttons, and then when the ratings are so low, go, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think we're doing really well. Financially, you are, because everyone's taking out their credit cards because for 2 years they couldn't do jack diddly with it. But eventually those credit cards hit their max and they can't show up to these events anymore. And WWE stops reporting record revenue. And then what? You're going to turn around and look at your television audience, which is going to be dwindled down to about what? 900,000 viewers. You're going to be at AEW numbers by that point. So it's an interesting way to go about AJ Styles' return. I don't see any way you go with, I mean, this has to now set up LA Knight versus Styles. Now, they have a face problem. A lot of baby faces, right? Monday Night Raw for sure. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. The list goes on and on. I'm talking top faces, not just mid-carders. Over on SmackDown, they had to bring over Orton, but you got LA Knight. You got now Randy Orton. And AJ Styles would have been a mega player. So turning him heel does make sense. You jump it off right with LA Knight. This could be fun. That's why I say we're going to see. Walking past the bloodline after you just beat him up. Maybe that's a little it's a little nugget you probably didn't think through. I don't know. Maybe it adds another level to the story of this. Everybody is like, why did you take us out? But I just know that if somebody just takes you out and then after you get up and they just walk by you, are you just letting them walk by? I don't know, man. So Corey Graves is like, I'm just as confused as you guys. We're just hoping that's going to be the good type of confused, right? So we'll give the benefit of the doubt. That's what we're going to do. It's good to see AJ Styles back. We have questions. Some of them are good questions we do want answered. And I just hope that the company does it correctly. So that's my take on it. I'm confused by it. I am. Again, half in the story of confusion, so it's a good thing. The other half, we probably could have done this a little better. But AJ Styles is back. He's right in the mix of everything. Everything is heating up right now. Roman and Randy is the biggest thing to come out of SmackDown right now. After tonight's show, that is what we can be the most happy about. We're going to get Randy. We're going to get Roman. We're going to get it at Royal Rumble for the title. Orton's got to lose, but this should be really fun going forward. The only damper on this parade is that Roman only has 2 dates left before Rumble, 2 appearances. Other than that, he's on the private island. So you're only going to get 2 more encounters with Randy and Roman before Rumble. That's what sucks. So those 2 shows have to really deliver between the 2. And then the other 3 weeks, you better have Randy Orton. You better have a lot of good material because he's going to be selling this by himself. Or unfortunately, it's just going to be Paul and the Goons. As much as I love Jimmy and Solo, it's just going to be Randy basically beating up the henchmen every single week. Probably even when Roman is there. I don't know. Now I'm just rambling because I'm thinking into the future and what everything leads to. But that was SmackDown tonight, 12/15/23. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I enjoyed it for the most part. But I don't watch pro wrestling just to enjoy it. I want to be captivated by it. So that's the difference with BC. I can enjoy it, but that's not why I watch it. You're either captivating me with this product or you're not. And if you're not, then my duty, I feel, to the pro wrestling world, my way to give back is to help get it to that point, to put all of my knowledge into companies like WWE, and hopefully we can all be captivated by these shows in the future. Enjoying it, that's mid. When you're captivated by pro wrestling, that's epic. BC Amplified. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Current status, we're out. Check you.